I'm Christy and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you've never been here before. In today's video, I have some Rockstar romance recommendations for you. So I have about 9 recommendations I'm going to be talking about that I've read recently, and then I also have like 2 that I'm going to talk about at the end that are on my TBR that I want to get to. In the past, Rockstar romances are ones that haven't really worked for me very well, but lately I have found some ones that really do work for me, so I wanted to talk about those ones. So first up is Riffs and Refrains by Devney Perry. This is the book that actually inspired this recommendation video. So I have been loving Devney Perry books recently and have been just binging her entire backlist, and this is one of her books that is a standalone, part of like a 3-part series that she collabed with other authors, so like each author has their own book in the series, and this was hers that I wanted to get to. So on top of this being a Rockstar romance, it also has a few more of my favorite tropes. So it is a small town romance, it is second chance, and then the hero is actually a single father as well. So this series is the Hush Note series. That is the band that it follows. The heroine of this book is the drummer for the band. So the heroine left her small town Montana hometown when she was just 18, and she hasn't looked back since. And when the story begins, it has been 9 years since then, and the only one she has kept in contact with is her grandmother, and she learns that her grandmother has passed away. So she ends up packing up her bags and taking off from the band for a bit and going back to her hometown in Montana for her grandmother's funeral. So as soon as she arrives, her ex-boyfriend actually ends up picking her up at the airport. He's the hero. They were high school sweethearts, childhood friends, they were neighbors growing up, and then he has also been her brother's best friend like the entire time as well. He also owns a business with her brother now too. So when the heroine gets back to her town, she has lots to catch up on with not only with the hero, but then with her family as well. She hasn't talked to most of her family as well in the past 9 years. The only one she kept in contact with was her grandmother. So she has to kind of make amends with her brother and sister who are not happy that she left. She has like tons of nieces and nephews to meet that she never met before. And then she has to chat with her father as well. She hasn't talked to him in the 9 years since she's been gone. And she always kind of felt like she was an embarrassment to her father. He's a pastor, and so she always felt like the clothes she wore and like the music she was into growing up was just like an embarrassment to him. So she has a lot to work through, not only with her ex-boyfriend, but also with her family as well. So the heroine's grandmother, one of her last wishes was for the hero and the heroine to play together at her funeral. So that is how they started kind of working together and being around one another, and they realized that, you know, all those feelings they had before are not lost. Like I mentioned, the hero is a single father now, and so he has a 7-year-old son, and it was nice seeing the heroine kind of connect with him. His son is super into the band and the heroine. He plays the drums as well, and so it was fun seeing her, you know, kind of practice and play the drums with him. This is the type of Rockstar romance that I like, kind of away from the band life and the whole like tour and concerts and all of that behind the scenes type life. It was just more like a musician with obviously talent and abilities, just kind of, you know, working on their craft and their life, you know, besides the music. So that is Riffs and Refrains by Devney Perry. So next up is Muses and Melodies. This is actually in the same Hush Note series that I just talked about. This one is by Rebecca Yarros though. So this book follows the band's lead guitarist. He is actually recently out of rehab, and the heroine, who already works for the band, ends up getting hired on by the band manager and the bandmates of the hero to kind of look after him and make sure that he stays out of trouble. So she ends up getting hired on as his handler. She has to live with him, you know, and just be stuck to his side the entire time to make sure he stays on the straight and narrow path. The heroine has worked for the band for quite a few years, and so every summer she has noticed that the hero kind of self-destructs around that time. So she realizes he still has a lot to work through, like not only with his out of rehab situation. She's hired to keep him on track for not only the band's upcoming summer tour, but also the band's upcoming album as well. And then she made a deal as well with the band manager that if she's able to keep him on the straight and narrow path for 6 months and out of trouble, that she will then be able to manage her own band later on. This one, the hero is definitely a tortured soul. He has a lot to work through in the story, and I really liked how the heroine was just always in his corner. Next up is Lilac, and this is a Rockstar reverse harem romance. This one is a reverse harem between all of the bandmates. So the heroine actually gets hired on as the new guitarist for the band after one of their bandmates actually ended up passing away when the story starts. So as soon as she starts working with the band, they kind of instantly hate her and have this whole like enemies to lovers vibe going on. There's lots of hate bangs and just bossy, controlling heroes. This one is filled with tons of time on the road, on the tour bus, behind the scenes, like in their concerts and backstage and all of that. So if you like that whole very much Rockstar life, like this one has all of that. I also liked in this one how it had the POVs for all 4 of the characters. So we get the heroine and then the 3 guys as well. So that was fun to see. Next is The Devil and the Deep Blue Sea by Elizabeth O'Rourke. This is part of her Devil series. They're all standalones. In this one, the heroine is the popular famous pop star, and she's currently taking a break from her career and ends up going on a vacation to Hawaii with her ex-boyfriend and his family. Her ex-boyfriend had wanted to get back together with her, and so she decides to possibly give him a chance and meet up with him and his family in Hawaii. But when she gets there, the ex-boyfriend is nowhere to be seen, and she wasn't really feeling like getting back together with him anyways. So it ends up being her romance with her ex-boyfriend's older brother, who is the hero of the story. So the hero is a doctor. He wasn't really a fan of the heroine in the past, so they kind of have a little bit of a hate to love vibe going on in the beginning. I love the vacation setting in this for the first half of the story while they're in Hawaii, and then after that they kind of go back to reality. So the hero is actually a doctor, and he works like in a dangerous part of the world, so he takes off back to there, and then the heroine has to get back to like her concerts. And the heroine is dealing with like overly controlling management team, and kind of all the people around her are just kind of throwing her under the bus as far as with her career. The heroine also has asthma and panic attacks, as well as some trauma from her past that is all talked about and discussed in the story. Really liked the character growth for the heroine in this story, and then also the hero has some super swoony moments. So that is Devil and the Deep Blue Sea. Next up is No Tomorrow by Carrie Ann Cole. I have this really gorgeous Mystic Box edition. Love the end pages there. And this book, while it is very beautiful, it is very heavy and deals with a lot. Honestly, the content in this is very draining and hard to read at times, so definitely go in with the right mindset when you pick this book up. This book has a very toxic, kind of messy vibe to it. So basically when the heroine first meets the hero, he is homeless and a musician. They start to have a relationship, he kind of leaves her, and things progress from there. We end up spending 21 years with the couple from the first time they meet, and definitely a lot happens over those 21 years. Most of it is pretty hard to read. This book definitely has some relationship red flag moments. Sometimes I wanted to jump in there and, help and take care of the characters. It's definitely hard to root for these characters for every step of their journey. So there's tons of content warning in this one. There is homelessness, a toxic relationship, mental illness, alcohol and drug abuse, depression, attempted suicide, and loss and death of a pet. Next up is the Mixtape by Brittany Cherry. This book starts off and the hero is one brother of a set of twins, and when the story starts, his brother had just passed away. They are like in a band together. So it definitely deals with the hero's loss and grief and kind of moving on after he's lost his brother. The heroine in this is a single parent to her 5-year-old daughter, and then she also works at a bar. And so one night when she's working at the bar, the hero, her celebrity crush, ends up showing up, and she's like, oh my god, I can't believe my luck. This is amazing. But then she realizes that he is super wasted, and he also skipped out on his concert, which was being held right across the street. So the bar is also filled with tons of pissed off concert goers who didn't get to see the concert, and the hero ends up actually starting to fight in the bar with the pissed off concert goers. So the heroine ends up jumping in and saving him and taking him back with her to her apartment. So then we cut to the hero, and he finds out a few days later that the heroine who saved him actually ended up losing her job because of the whole incident and leaving the bar that night. So he feels bad, and he ends up hiring her on as his personal chef. And so their story, it picks up from there. This one does have some heavier content warning as well. It deals with substance abuse and depression, loss and grief. There's verbal abuse as well as rape and blaming of a rape victim. But as we know with Brittany Cherry, she always delivers on those heavier emotional reads. This one is available on Kindle Unlimited, and it comes with that read and listen feature. So if you download it on Kindle Unlimited, you get the Audible audio to listen to as well. Next up is Asher by Carrie Ann Cole. This is actually an Amnesia Rockstar romance. In this one, the couple Asher and Ember, they have been together since they were teens. So they've been together for 15 years when the story starts. They were also teen parents. Their daughter has her own story, which is torn. So in this one, Asher has come from a family of musicians. His father had a band, him and his brothers have bands, and then actually Ember is in a band as well with some of her girlfriends. And when the story starts, Ember is actually having a conversation with Asher, and she's kind of just over the whole famous life. They're always separated. She kind of wants to just be at home with her family, spend more time with their daughter, spend more time together, and possibly start having another child. So right after that conversation with Asher, when they're both deciding to kind of take a step back from their careers and focus on family, Ember actually ends up getting into an accident, and she ends up in a coma for 8 years. So when Ember wakes up, she actually doesn't remember anything from her past. She doesn't know who Asher is. She doesn't even recognize herself in the mirror. So this one has a lot going on, a lot of emotions. Asher and the family, they kind of all want Ember to be back to the person that she was before because they've missed her for so long. And then Ember, she just wants everybody to acknowledge and appreciate the new person she is, or who she feels she really is, because she doesn't resonate with any of the way that the old Ember was. This one is definitely an angsty read, and you feel for both sides. You can see, Asher's way, and you can see Ember as well. So yeah, this is Asher from Carrie Ann Cole. Carrie Ann Cole has tons of musician romances if you're looking for more. Next is the Grip series. I have this very chunky trilogy here for all 3 books in the series. So there's Flow, Grip, and Still. This trilogy follows the same couple throughout, so we follow Bristol and Grip. This one is definitely gut-wrenching and beautiful writing from Kennedy Ryan, of course. Bristol and Grip are definitely soulmates, and you feel that for every book of theirs. So Flow is the novella in the series, and that is when Grip and Bristol first meet. And then in Grip is the first book in the series, and that is 8 years after Flow. So in this series, Bristol runs a music label business with her brother, and they manage Grip. And so in the first book is when Grip is about to release his first album and all of that comes with it. Grip and Bristol have remained friends for years after events that went down in the prequel Flow, but Grip has definitely wanted more from Bristol, and she's just trying to keep him in that friend zone. So this one is a very angsty, very slow burn, lots of tension. This whole series has very powerful conversations. There are conversations in here dealing with the complexities of being in an interracial relationship. There's, of course, conversations about racism and privilege. There is police brutality and racial profiling. This series is definitely worth it. Kennedy Ryan will put you through it, but it is worth the read and definitely a great one to check out. So next up is Managed by Kristen Callahan, and this one is kind of Rockstar adjacent. So the hero in this, he is actually the manager for a band, and then the heroine ends up being hired on to be the social media liaison and kind of the photographer for their social media posts. This one has a grumpy hero, a sunshine heroine. They first meet when they're on a plane together. She's actually flying to London to interview for the job, and he ends up sitting next to her on the plane. He has a terrible fear of flying, and so she ends up like bantering and teasing him the whole flight to kind of distract him from everything going on once she realizes that he has a fear of flying. So they don't realize who she is or that she's going to be interviewing for the band until after their flight, and then they realize, oh, we're going to actually be working together and being on the tour together. This one, the hero also is an insomniac, and so he realizes that the last time that he slept really well was when he was with the heroine and they accidentally fell asleep. So along the way, he convinces her to come and sleep with him on his tour bus, but like literally just sleep with him because he just wants like to be able to rest. So she ends up living with him on his tour bus, and it kind of takes off from there. This one is definitely a slow burn, and the hero has a lot going on in his past, but this is a great one. All right, so those are all of my recommendations, and here are a few that I still have on my TBR that I want to get to soon. So I have Blame It on the Tequila by Fiona Cole. I read the first book in this series, which was Blame It on the Champagne, and so I've been meaning to get to this one. I've heard it's fun. And then I also have The Words by Ashley Jade. I've heard this one is really amazing, and I've been meaning to get to it. Hopefully I get to it in October. And then I also want to get to Lies and Lullabies. This is by Serena Bowen, and this is part of that Hush Note series that I mentioned the books from Devney Perry and Rebecca Yarros in this video. So I definitely want to get to that one as well because it follows one of their other bandmates. So those are all the recommendations I have for you today for the Rockstar romance trope. Let me know in the comments if you have read any of these books or if you have any recommendations for me to check out. I would love to hear about them. So if you haven't done so yet, make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of my future videos, and I'll see you in my next one.